York City sending 4,500 migrants back to Texas, offering free one-way plane and bus tickets to other states. So Abbott sends migrants to New York, then New York spends all this money, millions, to send them back to Texas.
History books will not be kind to the Biden-Harris administration for their clear attempt to flood the nation with illegal immigrants.
To the southern border with Mexico, where hundreds of migrants are abandoning their journey towards the United States. The caravan, which began earlier this week with around 3,000 migrants, has now dwindled to just half after Donald Trump won re-election.
With President-elect Trump's promise of mass deportation, an influx is happening, all under the noses of the powers that be before Trump is sworn back into the White House.
Donald Trump doesn't like Latinos. Donald Trump said he was going to remove all Latinos from the United States, a massive deportation.
I'm married to the daughter of immigrants. I do think that immigration can enrich this country. I do think that, immigrants, many of them are bringing a lot to the table.
So in order to meet the goal of hiring 10,000 new agents, we need the agents. We need them badly. And keeping our incredible veteran agents on the force. Don't leave us.
A post-election YouGov survey shows that Donald Trump has the support of 53% of Americans on immigration matters, compared to just 45% for Vice President Kamala Harris.
Now, you gotta wonder if this is really worth it to jump the fence and then enter the U.S. illegally. Well, a U.S. citizen actually tried doing it. The problem is that he wasn't welcomed with open arms at all. Check out this report from this independent journalist.
We know migrants receive a lot of benefits. What are some of the benefits that they receive?
About $2,000 a month in cash, about $1,500 in the food stamp beneficiaries, like SNAP benefits. They'll get about $1,500 in that. A phone that's paid for 2 years that they don't have to worry about, and housing over their head for at least 3 months minimum until they can actually get put into a process.
And is it expensive to live here?
Yeah, you can't even find a studio for less than $1,600 a month, and that's a 1-bedroom.
And they're getting free housing.
They're getting free housing.
Have you ever considered hopping over the fence and then coming back as an illegal?
Yes, but it does not work. It does not work.
Have you done it?
Yes, I have, and it did not play out correctly at all. I was let know that you could spend up to 7 years minimum federal time.
Wow. So you could go to jail for trying to come in as an illegal, but the illegals can come in.
Yeah.
Could you benefit? Could you get any help from the government that would help you in your life right now instead of them giving it to illegals?
Yes, if I was able to receive the benefits that they're receiving, I wouldn't have to work 2 jobs just to supply a house for me and my girl. I'd actually be able to work one and welcome our son into our life.
So first of all, there's a lot of people on Social Security that need help, right? There are millions of low-income households that struggle to put food on the table. There are countless families that don't get approved for SNAP food benefits. There are homeless veterans that are on the streets. But somehow we have enough resources to give food, housing, and cash to illegal immigrants. This is something that President-elect Trump finds disrespectful, as the federal government should be making our tax dollars work for us. It's also why he decided to place Tom Homan as the new border czar. In a recent statement, Tom Homan has vowed to work with the future president to get the situation under control. Watch.
We've seen numbers, 800,000 criminal illegal aliens crossing over the last 40 years through Biden. The National Guard already has been deployed under the Biden White House, but there's pushback against the Trump wanting to use military assets to deport illegal aliens. How does that work when you catch a criminal illegal alien to deportment? Can you walk us through how it works?
Well, first of all, DOD's helped several administrations to secure the border, Republican and Democrat. DOD will be used, if we have an agreement from DOD, the president has to make that decision. But if we use DOD, then they'll be used to do non-enforcement duties, such as transportation, whether it's on ground or air, infrastructure building, intelligence. Things that would take a badge and gun and ICE officer that are doing these type of duties, takes them away from those duties, put them on the street, and let the military do those duties, because it doesn't require immigration authority. So there'll be a force multiplier to take more agents, put them on the streets where we need them. But look, we arrest a criminal animal, we take them into custody. They're put in detention, they're put in an ICE bed while we make arrangements for the home country. They got to send us travel documents, they got to accept them as a national of their country. It takes several days, up to 2 weeks. So we detain them, put them on the next airplane out and send them out. And we're hoping DOD will help us with air flights because there's a limited number of planes ICE has contracts with, so DOD can certainly help with air flights all across the globe.
And a lot of people seem to be aware of Tom Homan's goals, which is why we're seeing cartels rush to get as many people into the country before he's put in place. Just recently, Mexican authorities seized a tractor trailer that was carrying more than 250 illegal immigrants who were headed here. The bust happened just 225 miles south of the U.S. border, with the Mexican army and agents from the National Institute of Migration stopping a double trailer rig at a military security post. Out of the 257 people inside, at least 50 were minors. Officials in Texas are preparing for the worst as they're expecting multiple mass migration events before Trump is in office, with this one apprehension being the tip of the iceberg. The good news for us is that our new border czar means business. Tom Homan is expected to work outside of congressional oversight. This means that he can do his job as intended without somebody questioning him every minute. He's not being put directly in charge of the DHS, but will simply work within a sub-agency that's tasked with the issue of immigration. This also means that he reports directly to President Trump. This removes the possible guardrails that may hinder him in his tasks. Now, some are worried about this, and they're saying that they're not willing to work with the border czar. Many sanctuary cities are already indicating that they plan on disrupting President Trump's plan for mass deportation.
What these city leaders are saying is that the White House and President-elect Donald Trump, when he gets to the White House, will not have authority to do so with some of their local National Guards. We're going to get to that in just a second. But we're going to get back to what you just talked about. Really bold words coming from the mayor of Denver. And if he holds true, keeps his words when President-elect Donald Trump takes office, we could be heading for a collision course. So we're talking about Mayor Mike Johnston, a Democrat, says city police won't be assisting in mass deportation efforts, and residents in Denver support his decision. Johnston, like you just mentioned, even comparing that potential for public resistance to the upcoming federal immigration operation to the 1989 Tiananmen Square protests in China.
One of which is a city I cited, which is Los Angeles. So LA City Council member Hugo Soto-Martínez was quoted in saying that they will not be collaborating or enforcing Trump's deportation machine. Homan responded by saying that this would risk public safety if ever they do try and go against the president-elect's plans. And it's not just Los Angeles. A lot of the Democrats are preparing to go to bat for illegal immigrants.
When you hear these Democrat governors and people like AOC saying that they're going to block any attempt to deport, what's your reaction?
They're obviously not very smart because President Trump is clear. Out of the gate, we're concentrating on public safety threats and national security threats. What politician, whether you're a mayor or a governor, is saying, no, I want public safety threats to remain in my community? I mean, give me a break. But, you know, ICE is going to do it. And here's the thing. They don't let us in the county jail to arrest the bad guy, which means they're going to release the bad guy back in the community, put the immigrant community at greater risk of crime. It forces ICE agents into the community, which puts ICE agents at danger, but it also puts the immigrant community at danger because when we find a bad guy, and we will, there's going to be others with him, others that weren't even on our radar. So what they're saying, if you're going to force us in the neighborhood to arrest more illegal aliens than what we originally planned to do. So their idea is just, it's ridiculous.
There are a lot of politicians, much like AOC, who are against mass deportation, which is kind of weird because they have to be aware that U.S. citizens have been killed on American soil by these very individuals, and know that this is not a knock on immigrants that need asylum. All they have to do is go through the legal port of entry instead of rushing our borders to illegally cross into the United States. Which brings me to Jose Ibarra, the illegal alien that murdered Laken Riley. His sentence has just been confirmed, with many people saying that he's being let off easy. You guys see the difference? And it's this vast difference between the two that's triggering the hosts of The View right now. Now, I'm guessing that they're going to be triggered daily for the next 4 years. So let's go ahead and hear them out while it's early, shall we? And I want you to listen to how ludicrous these hosts can get. Watch.
You realize, I mean, it's chilling what he just said. You realize that when he says, yes, families can be deported together, what he is saying is that U.S. citizens can be deported. What he is saying is, if the parent is undocumented and they have U.S. citizen children or U.S. citizen spouse, or and you don't want to separate them, then let's deport the U.S. citizens. Look, Donald Trump won the electoral vote. He won. He's going to win the House. He won the Senate. For all effects and purposes, he's got the Supreme Court. They've given him immunity. This is what the country voted for. This is, you know, a lot of people thought that when he talked about mass deportations, he wasn't being serious. I don't know how many times he had to say it for people to realize he was being serious. Well, if you thought he wasn't being serious.
Not sure if they were informed, but a majority of the country voted for this, right? The border crisis is one of the top concerns for Americans across all 50 states. For many, it was the deciding factor for why they voted for Donald Trump, even if they didn't actually like him personally. And the president has made it very clear that he was serious about this. Although a lot of people doubted Kamala Harris when she talked about it because she always loved an open border. It wasn't until this year when she suddenly changed her mind to try and win some votes. And I'm not sure how many times President Trump has to say it, but he's not against legal migration. That's not what he's against.
We want to have as many people come in as possible, but they have to come in legally. We don't want murderers. We don't want drug dealers. We don't want human traffickers. We don't want people from prison that are being let out after murdering somebody. We don't want to have that. We want to have great people come in. And that's the sad thing. So many people work to come in our country. They've worked for 10 years, they're getting ready, and then millions of people pour through the southern border. They fly them over in airplanes. Nobody knew that until about 9 months ago.
If you went through the proper legalities to enter in the United States, you have nothing to worry about, he says. He only has an issue with illegal immigration, the important term being illegal. And if an illegal immigrant had a child here in the country, would they prefer that the child be left in the United States, or should families be kept together? That's the big question that a lot of folks are having right now, because they're under this idea that they hold the moral high ground. But if they want families together, then deporting them all at once should not be an issue. It's like the rules and the laws don't seem to matter at all when they're talking. And here's where we can prove that they absolutely could not care less about the law, especially when it's detrimental to them or their allies. Watch.
Biden is in there for the next 2.5 months. And this is what I'm going to tell Joe. Joe, since they're talking smack about you anyways, you know what, baby, pardon Hunter.
Yeah.
Pardon Hunter, because America just pardoned a criminal.
Yes.
Who was convicted.
Yes.
Of felonies.
Yes.
America just elected a man who pardoned Jared Kushner's father.
Yeah.
Who set up his brother-in-law with a hooker and then sent the pictures to the sister because they were in the midst of a fight over the parents' money.
Yeah, I can't follow that.
Well, whatever the flow chart is, it's nasty.
Exactly.
He's probably going to pardon some of the folks from January 6th, those insurrectionists. So you know what? It's your son. He probably wouldn't have been prosecuted if his last name wasn't Biden. Baby, you got 2.5 months. I'm good with you pardoning Hunter.
Do you agree with Ana Navarro here? Because this could literally just be them laying the groundwork for Hunter Biden to be pardoned. Even though President Joe Biden said months ago that he would not do such a thing. We'll actually see if Joe Biden holds true to his word, but we'll see. But it's not like that will be the first lie that he's told us, right? And why does she keep calling Biden his baby? Does anybody else find that a little bit weird, a little bit suspect? We also have to talk about how good of a son Hunter is, right? It's not like the laptop was real, right? It's not like 51 former intelligence officers lied right before the 2020 presidential election, probably altering the entire course of this nation as we know it. But like I said, guys, they may actually be planting the seeds right now so that we won't be surprised come January. It's something that we've actually talked about before, with many people expecting President Joe Biden to pardon his son before leaving office. But what do you guys think about that? Do you think Joe Biden's going to end up pardoning his son Hunter Biden before he leaves? But what's really got me perplexed here is why they're playing the fear tactics when it comes to mass deportation. From everything that we've seen and that we've heard, only illegal immigrants are expected to be sent back to their homes.
Over the last 4 years, we've had nearly 10 million people flood this country. The idea that that's just a status quo that has to be lived with, and President Trump is not correct to be able to say, look, we shouldn't have let these people come in. It's too many people for our country to be able to absorb too quickly. We have the highest level of foreign-born people in the United States in the history of the country, but asking them to leave isn't allowed is kind of silly. It's not just a one-way ratchet where when Democrats are in control, people get to flood our country, and then when Republicans are in control, we just sit on our hands.
Who said President Trump isn't a man of his word, right? Because like it or not, this guy is hitting the ground running. He's not wasting a second of his time as he continues to build the people who will be a part of his administration for the next 4 years. And unlike President Joe Biden, he's not appointing his vice president as the border czar. In fact, this has actually raised concern from a lot of Democrats within the nation, especially since Vice President Kamala Harris is one of the biggest supporters of illegal immigrants entering our country. Now, just to give you guys an idea here, here's the difference between Kamala Harris and newly appointed border czar Tom Homan. Watch.
Go
Up with education, down, down with deportation. Up with education, down, down with deportation.
I got a message to the millions of illegal aliens that Joe Biden's releasing our country in violation of federal law. You better start packing now.
We are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making.
I hear a lot of people say, the talk of a mass deportation is racist. It's threatening to the immigrant community. It's not threatening to the immigrant community. It should be threatening to the illegal immigrant community.
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
Now, I covered this in a previous video, guys, that you have to check out right after this one. As always, thank you so much for hitting the like button and subscribing. Check out this video here coming up or our playlist and clips down below, and I will see you guys on the next one.